That F5 team. No, it doesn't even say F5 anymore.
I wish I was playing 10 years ago because I'm pretty sure I would have got some 10k finish.
Mind your business.
A certain Egyptian king is being ignored.
Saint Maximin. Oh my
goodness. What's happening, guys, and welcome to another episode of Only One Bonus Point, a light take on a deep game. We're your hosts. My name is Ray.
I'm RJ.
And I'm Law. And today we have a very special episode for you guys. Today we're bringing the winner of the Only One Bonus Point competition, FPL Mini League. It's Nat, known as FPL at FPL Potato. How's it going, Nat?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, thank you. I hope you don't think this is going to be special because of me in any way, because if you do, you're about to be very disappointed.
It's already begun.
What an introduction.
Yes, the winner. Pessimistic Potato used to be. Now it's I'm really great at this potato, or
I'm
really good at this thing.
For several years I was pessimistic Potato because I'm just sort of generally quite downbeat about how good I am at FPL, and also full of starch most of the time as well, much like an actual potato, unhealthy food and whatnot. But I was in the top 3,000 last year, so I'm officially really, really, really good at this now. So it makes sense for me to have a bit of a rebrand and whatnot. Depending on how this season goes, I may have to rebrand again, but let's see.
Listen, adaptable. Caused domestics in my house. My missus was fighting you all season.
Oh, man,
she's the one that came second, didn't it? So
I'm not even a little bit sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all about me and how well I do.
Fair. So now you're a United fan, right?
Yeah, having grown up in central Hertfordshire, I have real close links to Manchester, obviously. So that was an obvious choice when I was tiny, deciding which team to support. I thought, that makes sense.
And how are you feeling about last season and this season?
The first 2 or 3 weeks aside, during which time we got pumped in no particular order by I think it was Brighton, then Brentford, and then snuck a win past Southampton. I think it was a pretty rocky start to the beginning of the season, to say the very least. It was actually quite positive for the most part, and there was a clear upward trajectory, largely because of the manager. With a pretty mixed squad. I mean, obviously, this time last season we still had Ronaldo. 7 or 8 games into last season, we still had Ronaldo. That's mad to think about, isn't it?
Ruined him.
Absolutely. Well, I think it was mutual, really. I think he ruined us just as much as we did him. But with a pretty sort of meh squad for the most part, with some good names, I guess, but also some not so good names. He did really well, to have won a cup, been finalists in another cup. Where did we get in the Europa League quarterfinals, I want to say, and to have finished there relatively comfortably in the end is a pretty good season. If you'd offered us that at the beginning, at half time in the Brentford game in game week 2, I think it was, if you'd offered us that, I think we'd have absolutely taken it without a second thought. So I think we should be quite pleased, and we've only strengthened the squad so far this summer. So
you're like one of the chilled out United fans that I know. I have to ask, how do you feel about the Carabao Cup? Because a lot of people have been giving me stick and how much better their season was than Arsenal's because of it, etc. What about you?
I mean, a trophy is a trophy at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a clear measure of success. It's the least interesting measure of success in terms of which trophy you could win. Obviously, it's not got anywhere near as much in terms of prestige and what have you, in terms of how important it is to most people as the FA Cup or one of the European Cups or winning the league or what have you. But it's something. It's I'm clutching at straws here. Basically, what I'm saying is I kind of agree with you, but it would be very off-brand of me as a United fan, as a chilled United fan, to say, it's amazing. It's the best thing that has ever happened to us. Those leagues and Champions Leagues we won. Forget those. It's about this one Carabao Cup we won. But I think it's one of, apart from the Europa League, it's basically unless I'm sorely mistaken, I think, and the FA Cup in maybe 2016 or something. It's the only trophy we won since, apart from those other 2 that we've won since Fergie left. So it's something to be pleased about, and it shows a bit of progress, I think. So I was quite happy about it, but at the same time, it's only the Carling Cup, isn't it? So
now, do you look at it more as a launch pad, hopefully, for Ten Hag and obviously what the squad can achieve because they've won something together so quickly.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, he's had a whole season now to show the players his way, and they've obviously really responded to it. Everyone knows the story about him, doing exactly as much running as everyone else had to do after the Brentford game. Demonstrating that he's willing to do what he's asking them to do, which is the first sign of any sort of good manager or leader.
Yeah.
So they obviously all respect him. Everyone's clearly on side. There doesn't seem to be any, like sometimes, like the Chelsea squad, for instance, to use an example, like it was very clear from things you hear in the media or rumours and even on the pitch to a lesser degree that the players are just down tools towards the end of the season, haven't they? They just weren't really into it. What was Lampard the manager at the end? I can't even remember. They just weren't interested at all, were they? I mean, no offence, but also offence because that was pretty, depressing to watch. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it
was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've as a United fan since Fergie, I've witnessed exactly the same thing. So it's something most clubs go through at some point, apart from Man City, annoyingly. But they've had a pretty excellent 10 years, haven't they? To be honest. But yeah, that's an interesting idea.
It needs to be over. It needs to be over. That's it. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. Someone has to stop it. I don't mean like someone in the league has to stop this nonsense. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you had a pretty good chance last season, but
don't you start. Don't start.
I won't say it. I won't say the D. I won't say the
B word. Looking at next season, do you think your expectations are more trophies, or is it just seeing an improvement in that style of play from Ten Hag?
What I would like to see, and this is completely subjective, obviously, but what I would like to see is like a real title challenge. I think it's unrealistic to expect that we have a real chance of winning it, but I want to see it challenged in a similar way to which Arsenal did last year. A trophy would be good. I want to see us progress beyond the group stages of the Champions League, which is, I think, the last time we were in it in maybe season before last, was it? I think was the last when we were last in the CL. I want to see us challenge for that as well. One of the domestic trophies as well, and I'd be quite happy with that. I'd take second or third in the league, top four basically, and a trophy. It's just success doesn't have to happen instantly. It shouldn't be like a. We don't want to, again, not to pick on Chelsea again, but we don't want to adopt the Chelsea approach of success has to happen this season, or forget this manager, let's start again. We want Ten Hag for the next 10 years in the same way that
you have to build.
City have had Guardiola. If it takes another 2 or 3 seasons to get to the point where we are genuinely contenders, then fine, fair enough. He's obviously building a project, and I'm completely happy with that.
Sick, yeah, that's a good shot, man.
So that's the central Hertfordshire perspective on Man United, which is definitely what you needed.
Which is the fan base in England, so yeah.
So we got you on today because you destroyed our mini league. You destroyed FPL this last season as well. Lads, what are we going into today?
So we're going to go through how Nat obviously finished in the top 3K. After that, we'll go through his current draft. We'll discuss a bit about one Egyptian king because his ownership has gone up quite a bit in the last week. We'll discuss Manchester United's newest signing, Rasmus Højlund. God knows if I'm saying it right, but I'll go by it. And I'm sure a lot more that we'll discuss on the fly.
Cool. So now, how did you do it, man? This year,
what was really good, mate? I'm just really good at this. Basically, no.
It was the first year I took it seriously. That malarkey that they all said.
No, do you know what? I've been playing FPL for I see people on Twitter and all over the place saying, "Oh, this is my second or third year playing FPL." I'm like, what? What planet have you really?
That's
really.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, literally talking about Ray.
Really
No, please do.
It's just my point. My point is, I've been playing FPL fantasy football in one format or another since I was 10 or 11. Do you remember? Were any of you playing when you used to get a sheet in the newspaper that had all the players' prices on? And you had to sort of.
I never played, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, that was how you had to play FPL, or fantasy football of whatever format you were playing it. So I've been playing it for a long time, and this is the first year I've had any sort of real success. A couple of top 100k finishes, and that's about it really. This is the first time I've even cracked the top 100k. let alone 10 or 5k or what have you. And for a long time, I was in the top 1k. So on one hand, it's a little bit frustrating to look at it and go, oh, I'm outside the top 2,500 or top 2,000 or whatever. But I think anyone who finished in, a little bit above that, say like 40, 50, 100k, whatever, will look at me and go, stop complaining. You're fine. You did well.
You should stop complaining.
But
there's 11 million players. You got 2,743.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's important to have a bit of perspective, I suppose. And I can be quite secure in the knowledge that I am actually just really good at this now. This is sarcasm, by the way. I'm really not. I just got really quite lucky.
we didn't realize it. We thought that was you.
I employed over the years. I've sort of started to employ the approach of don't pick your battles, pick the occasions on which you decide to go against the template or against the EO threats. So I've sort of tried to settle on an idea of go 80% template and 20% swaz, differentials, not obvious picks. Because that way you're unlikely to be hurt. I mean, with that approach, you're never going to fit all of the template players in, so you just have to look at the ones that you think are less or least likely to go off and really hurt you. And I walked that tightrope quite well last season, or quite fortuitously last season. And the only mistake I made was Callum Wilson at the end, and that's what cost me big time. I was sort of around the 100-ish.
Somebody knows.
Oh my God, that killed me. Why would he not play? No, but why wouldn't he play? Look, seriously, why wouldn't he play on the last day?
What you mean? You wanted him to play on the last day? How do you mean?
So I brought him in. I made him captain.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's
on the last day. Yeah,
it was more than unfortunate.
That's what kept Laura ahead of me.
I had a really good season, so.
He had a
really good.
He's just gonna skip past it like he never said it.
Like he didn't stab me. Yeah, just quick. All right, cool.
You said it was a light-hearted. You said it was a light-hearted pod, all right?
It was.
Yeah, it was.
It was double game week 36. I think he
had.
I can't remember who he had.
Yeah.
36, I forget who it was, but he shafted his non-owners in the first game and then did it again, but in quick succession. You remember he scored he got 2 returns in the last 10 minutes of the second game against Brighton. I think the second one was against. And I thought I'd got away with it. I thought, you know what, I can just about absorb this. I got 2 notifications. You know that Eddie Hearn gif of him looking at his tiger? That was me twice, and I had to go have a little sit down in a dark room and just get over it.
Get back on that tightrope.
Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, mostly template and just pick your battles. Just try to always have a route to a differential, or a route to something that not everyone else has. The first week of last season, I think RJ, me and you talked about it at the time. I had Kulusevski in my team for his goal against Southampton. And my team was basically, other than that, completely template, completely everything everyone else had. And I started with Haaland as well, which helped. I know not everyone else did. But other than that, it was completely template. But Kulusevski gave me that extra little bit of swaz on top to give me a really good start, and a few other times throughout the season. Other than that, just completely sticking to the template for the most part. It's really boring. It's not an exciting answer at all. But just pick your moments. Do you remember in game week 15, I think it was, Man City played Fulham. It was the week where Cancelo got sent off. Remember, the first half.
Okay, yeah.
And there was a big weekend for what's that Instagram account? Team News and Ticks. I think he crashed. It was one of the few weeks where many weeks in fact, where he crashed the game basically with his early team news saying, by the way, cheers. And I think most people on that one decided to just continue to captain him on the assumption he would probably come on and then do something, or he would not come on at all and they would get their vice captain. But I thought I would use that as an opportunity to swing against, and I captained Salah instead, who played Spurs.
You scored,
that's right.
He scored 2.
That's right. Yeah. Sorry, Lord.
Lord, do you remember that game?
I captained Cancelo that day, man.
Yeah, quite clearly.
You went real quiet when that
you captained Cancelo. A lot of people did that actually, didn't they? I remember now you mentioned it. But no, that was it was a mix of it. I just had a hunch that when Spurs play at home, sometimes things can go from good to worse, from bad to worse, I should say, really quickly. And I thought if Liverpool score early, the crowd will just turn and it will become worse. In the end, it didn't get that much worse for them, but Salah got 2 goals, so the damage was done, and that bumped me up from around 150 to 60k. And at that point, because there's this barrier when you get to 100k, isn't there? It's really hard to push through it, but then all of a sudden you push through it, and you're kind of there's a long way back after that. And that was the main event in the season, if you like.
So would you say that was the turning point for you, that you knew that, oh, you know what, I'm actually this is going to be a good season for me?
As long as I don't, mess up from here, I will probably have a better season than I've had any time before. And then there was another one where I picked a battle, and this wasn't going against EO so much, but this was just going a little bit off-piste, if you like. United had 2 double game weeks back, not quite back-to-back, but in quick succession, didn't they, just after the World Cup? How mad is it that there was a World Cup last season? Which was
right in the middle of the season. That's crazy.
It was a World Cup, wasn't it? I'm not making it up. Yeah,
so, it was World Cup. Yep.
So just after that,
good World Cup, but it was World Cup.
Yeah, it was fun. It was game week 20 and game week 22, almost back to back. And I thought, who loves a double game week? Bruno Fernandes loves a double game week, and everyone, if he does well in his first one, he'll be template by the time the second one comes around. So I thought, why not just try and get in on it early? And I did. I think he had something, very low ownership, at that point, and he got that horribly jammy goal, which absolutely shouldn't have stood against Man City.
Oh, the
remember?
offside. Yeah.
And then he got another one against Palace in the second game of the double game week.
That's one of the reasons that they got the extra cameras as well. That goal.
Is that right? That's really interesting.
Yeah, that one and Saka's goal that was disallowed too because they couldn't get the angles right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got really jammy from that. I think he picked up 19 points in that first double game week, and obviously that being the case, everyone went for him in the second double game week. I mean, so I sort of got in. That's what FPL is about, isn't it? And that's what I tried to do with the sort of 20% picks. Just get ahead of what you think the next differential is going to be. That's not a new thought. That's obviously something that people have been trying to do for ages. But that's what I try and do specifically with that 20%-ish on the team. It only equates to 1 or 2 players most of the time. But it worked for me, and a couple of other jammy ones that weren't really well thought out. I just got kind of lucky in some cases, like Ward-Prowse's goal against Spurs, or the penalty against Spurs in the last minute. Mings got a couple of jammy returns. The assist, particularly, do you remember that one against Bournemouth? Maybe got a very lucky flick that didn't divert the direction of the ball at all, but he touched it, so it still counted as an assist, and that was it turned a 6-pointer into a 12-pointer, and that whizzed me up quite far. Just a couple of other really jammy ones, and apart from Wilson and Trent, a little bit in the sort of late 30s game weeks. I rode the EO sort of tightrope relatively successfully.
You said it yourself that template is a boring answer, but really it's the best way to play it. Did you actually find it boring, considering how well you did during the season? Because obviously you're following template, but did you actually find it boring? Because normally if I go template, I struggle. Like I just have to throw in some madness. I have to, even though it doesn't.
Yeah,
help
that's fair. That's kind of what the Swaz picks are there for. That's not the technical term, of course, but that's kind of the term I've settled on. So like, even if you've got a player who's got, say, 60% EO, that means that there's roughly 40% of the game that doesn't have him. That's still quite a big jump, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're getting points that only 6 out of 10 people around you are getting, then that's still 4 out of 10 ahead of you are going to fall. You're going to climb above them. So you still make quite considerable gains. It's not exciting in the same way as when like a Kulusevski, as I mentioned, or a Salah random road captain goes off. But it's about the small, gradual gains as much as it is the massive gains, the really sort of, I mean, they are the most exciting, obviously, the big ones, the sort of maverick picks that really work out. But you can if you go too far with that, I found anyway, if you go too far with that, you can quite easily overdo it and miss the wood for the trees sometimes. And, sometimes the template picks are template because they are really, really obvious, and they're obvious because they are good and sensible
for a
picks.
reason. Yeah.
Would you say that you kind of are more of a kind of grass FC kind of guy, or analytics, or do you try and merge the two? I mean, what would you say your style is?
That I've never really put much thought into it, but I found that I always feel a lot more comfortable with my choices if I've watched some football and decided, or at least partly based my decisions based on what I've seen. I find it quite hard to track stats or get too much from stats, apart from the obvious ones like how many goals or minutes or whatever it might be that players have scored. Like when someone's, when you see accounts pushing things like I can't think of any of the sort of more abstract examples off the top of my head, but I find the grass side much more important. I just find the numbers too hard to really take much from. Sometimes I've never been massively good with numbers really, so I find it quite hard to focus on the numbers and really take much meaning from what they mean sometimes. So I just prefer to go by vibes, frankly, most of the time, rather than drilling down into the stats.
But also sometimes there's just some things you just don't see through stats. You just have to see it by watching the game. You have to.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
I think that transitions over to. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say heat maps are a great example. You see them, and anyone can make them mean anything, really, can't they? But unless you actually watch the match and understand the relevance of where a certain player
they're actually being on the pitch,
it's like you'd see heat maps of, maybe Haaland was one that you see a lot of heat maps for, and going, people trying to push an anti-Haaland narrative, and they're going, oh, he never picks up the ball anywhere other than in the 6-yard box or something like that. And you're like, that's what he's there for. That's where he scores all his goals. I don't care about that. But if you watch a game, you see that and don't think anything of it.
Guys, do you remember during this season, last season, sorry, there was a point where people were saying that Haaland was making Man City worse.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Now, do you know what? It sounds mad when you think about it, because they've just won the treble in his first season. He scored 9 billion goals or whatever. But he, in a lot of ways, his pressing is poor. He's not sort of a typical. I mean, he couldn't be more different from, say, Aguero, who was the sort of quintessential City striker. He's so different. Aguero was pacey, still had that poaching instinct, but he was about sort of agility, whereas Haaland's agile in a different way, I guess. But he didn't quite. I could understand people saying that, when they were struggling to build up, to make chances, to convert chances, he didn't quite act in the same way that the players they've always had there would act. But he makes up for that. It's a similar one with Kane for Spurs. He's sometimes, when the game's not going their way, sometimes it would be right to take him off or to do something slightly different with him, put him deeper or something. But he makes up for that by the fact that he scores 9 billion goals every season. I mean, you can't really argue that he actually made them worse, because they won basically everything they could have won last year,
exactly.
with the exception of the Carabao Cup, which is obviously
the biggest one of the lot. I think that's a really prevalent point, because I think Man City beat Liverpool 4-0 or 4-1 last season, and Haaland was injured. And when I watched the game, I thought Man City played better football, but of course, that thing that they've been missing is the killer instinct, isn't it? And they probably sacrifice more domination before the last 10 games, when obviously Stones was inverted. But what you get with that killer instinct, against Arsenal, a couple of their goals was just lobbing the ball forward high and Haaland running onto it. They wouldn't have done that without Haaland. So I think,
but also it's like what you're saying as well. Like, I think they might have looked better when they didn't have Haaland in, because that's what they were used to playing. That's how they like to play. But they had to get used to playing with Haaland rather than playing how they always played. Normally, a player comes in, they learn the Man City way. I feel like Man City had to adjust to play with Haaland. So I think that's why they looked so comfortable when he was off that first time. It was just like, oh yeah, that's a stodge. But yeah, man,
that's probably where Chelsea failed, isn't it? I know we're knocking Chelsea a lot, which I love. But when they bought Lukaku, they didn't adjust their game to match Lukaku, and maybe Manchester United.
They expected him
to play as well.
They did for Arsenal.
Apart from the first 2 games before he got injured.
That game against Arsenal, right?
Oh my God, he battered us. I couldn't believe it. Then they just changed it. I was like, all right,
they just changed it.
So just for us, yeah.
But
it'll be interesting to see how Haaland's second season goes, because if he gets, say, 6 games in and he's got 1 goal or like 2 attacking returns across 6 goals or something,
changes FPL completely.
People will start to. It'll make FPL more interesting in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
start from a purely footballing perspective, people will start to go, maybe he's no
He's
good
not got it
after
anymore.
all.
Yeah.
Season
Yep.
longer,
Maybe
completely.
he was always terrible, and other horrible takes like that.
Nat, form versus fixtures. I thought I'd ask you. What are your thoughts on that? Before I forget?
Absolutely form. Like it's not even a. I mean, fixtures inform what the template is to a large degree. Like the double game weeks coming up, or if a team rather has got like all according to the FPL's official FDR, which is nonsense by the way, but people will go along with it. If it's like a long straight stretch of green fixtures or purple or pink fixtures, whatever they are. People often pay a lot of attention to that, but I find that people are really scared to play players against strong teams, as if
We
they're
always talk
never
about
going to
that.
concede,
Yeah.
as if they're always going to score 6 goals, and often that's the case. And there is a limit to it. Like you don't want to be betting on Bournemouth attackers to score heavily against Man City or against United or something like that. But you can swing against these teams sometimes. There's nothing wrong with target, like particularly if a team looks like they're about to have a run of bad form, like Spurs had a couple of bad stretches last season. United had a couple of bad stretches, particularly towards the beginning. Like attack these teams as well. Don't be scared of them. Don't transfer a player out just because they've been alright, but they've got Liverpool and Spurs coming up. Just if they're in form, they're in form.
City hardly had any clean sheets.
Yeah, exactly.
They won loads, but they kept conceding. I mean, someone's scoring these goals against them. I mean, you can get these points from somewhere else. Yeah, 100%.
No, I think you can really. I have a lot of respect for the people who plan out fixtures and work strictly to fixtures and plan so far ahead, based on who's playing whom. But I find that quite a sort of restrictive approach. I'd much rather watch football, analyse it, and work out who's in form, who looks like they're about to enter a bad stretch of form, and target them, regardless of where they are on the table or how good they are otherwise.
Brilliant. Okay. As we move on to Nat's current draft that he sent us. So first of all, we are using the graphics from our partners Draft Hound. So the link will be in the description, where you can obviously use our affiliate link and then get to planning. So Nat, if you could read out your team, please, for the audio listeners, that would be great. But before that, RJ, do you have something to say? RJ?
Yeah, before you do that, how do you feel about this FDR? The FDR on the players here.
Let's see. Well, I've not used this site before. Excuse me. So, it's just coloured by. Okay, so let's.
It's coloured like you like.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot better than the official FPL one. That's what.
It seems.
Traffic light system.
This does seem a lot better. I'm not sure. So one is a bad fixture, obviously. Okay, so that's interesting.
So the numbers are the expected points.
I see.
Expected points. The color is the FDR, really. Yeah.
It seems to make a lot more sense than the official FPL one. It's much. The more I look at it, the more it makes sense. Yeah, I won't go through all the numbers. I figure boring everyone to tears any more than I already am. But it makes a lot more sense. I wish I'll be using this. That's for sure. It makes a lot of sense.
Audio, let's go through your team, man.
Sure. So currently, Onana in goal, Gabriel Estupinian rather, Mings and Stones. Although I have changed Mings to Chilwell actually. So let me read that again. Sorry, it's Gabriel Estupinian, Chilwell and Stones. Currently, Saka, Salah, Mitoma, Bruno Fernandes, and Nicholas Jackson and Haaland. It says, if you're looking at the graphic, it says Nkunku there, but I've changed that since to Jackson to squeeze an extra 0.5 out of him, and I think he might be a marginally better pick anyway, having watched 0 minutes of Chelsea pre-season, but just call it vibes for the moment. That extra 0.5 million talks. But that's it at the moment. It's in a 4-4-2 because I think that's the most versatile formation, and that's usually what I try and aim for at the beginning of every season, unless there's a real standout reason to go for something different. Because with the 4-4-2, you can pivot to basically, within reason, any formation in 1 or maybe 2 moves. If I need to squeeze an extra forward in there, I can do that quite easily. Or if I need to get an extra mid or whatever it might be, I can do that quite or a little bit easier, I think, rather than with a 4-5-1 or 3-4-3 or whatever. You're just a little bit sort of pegged. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I just tend to default to that where possible. And the subs for completion are Whitworth, occupying that goalkeeper spot. That could be basically any 4.0
Areola,
goalkeeper, though, to be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Yes, well, he's got quite high ownership, hasn't he, actually?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. And I try to avoid those picks if possible, unless it seems like he's definitely going to play, which I don't think we know at the moment. Unless he seems like an actually really good pick, in which case I would probably change to him. But otherwise, his ownership presents a value trap, doesn't it? So as it stands, I'm probably going to stay away from that. And the rest of the bench is Kabore for Luton, Shandon Baptiste for Brentford, and Archer, whose first name I've forgotten probably, but for Villa. And again, they could be basically any 4.5 mid or forward, unless I think Elliot, is it what's his name? Elliot, the Newcastle midfielder. I'm going completely blank.
Anderson.
Yes, he's picking up a bit of attention, so I'll probably at some point change him around, unless he becomes a value trap as well.
Looking at this team as well, with you having the 2 extra changes, so you've gone with originally you went with 0.5 in the bank, so now I'm guessing you've got nothing in the bank now.
Yes, I think so. I think that's
so
right.
You've gone against that tactic of keeping the 0.5.
Yeah, I mean, point for having the extra money in the bank straight away is always helpful. But if that 0.5 would be better used, upgrading, say, Gabriel or Mings, I think it is, I did in the end, up to Chilwell. He's assuming he is fit, which he often isn't, as we know, Chilwell, and assuming it looks like he's going to start and be, deserving of that money being spent on him. I think it's worth the extra step up. Mings is a good player and he's playing for a good team and he's got reasonable fixtures from memory, I think, isn't he? Yeah, was it Newcastle, Everton?
Yeah, Newcastle, Everton, Burnley, yeah.
That's right. That's not a bad start, but the thing is, he offers, despite what I said earlier about the 2 very jammy attacking returns I got from him last season, he doesn't get a huge amount of attacking returns, not regularly at least, whereas Chilwell has the potential to go absolutely spare, doesn't he? So it's worth that extra saving.
Watch their game today. They play Fulham in the Premier League Summer Series. Chilwell's playing exactly the same way he used to, and he didn't get injured. That's the main thing. He didn't get injured in this game. I don't know what the score ended, but last time I looked, it was like 2-0. So Chilwell's
I heard he got an assist as well, didn't he? According to the
from the corner,
for Thiago Silva, it may have been a corner, but that's just from looking. I mean,
the only thing is about Chilwell is that they got first game is Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, going back to what I said earlier, that doesn't really faze me too much. I mean, on paper, it's not an ideal start. You'd rather him start with something nice and, with no disrespect to those teams, on paper, easier, like a promoted team or a team that was fighting relegation last season or something. But at the same time, on one hand, Chelsea-Liverpool games are historically, or at least recently, quite cagey. I think they've had like 4 0-0s in a row when they faced each other, haven't they? But if it does finish 0-0, that's obviously a return for Chilwell. And the games will, if the trend follows that pattern, it'll be a tight game. So he could still score, he could still return, he could still, as you say, get an assist from a set piece or something. It doesn't faze me too much. And Liverpool are not without problems of their own, are they? I mean, they've basically sold their entire midfield to Saudi Arabia, which isn't an ideal thing to do at any time. They have replaced them to a degree, I suppose, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get back to where they were. I think it's going to be a bit of a rebuild for them. So I've seen no reason to fear Liverpool. They've always been quite leaky, haven't they? And that was even with a functioning, a midfield that's familiar with itself.
We'll probably go into Salah a bit more because we've got a segment. But one thing that kind of jumped off the page was just going double Arsenal. I mean, the consensus from a Twitter's aspect or X aspect is which triple Arsenal to own, actually. And is that something that kind of entered your mind, or were you quite keen on just the 2 Arsenal assets and you can, hop on accordingly?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a worry with Arsenal, a bit like City always have. They often spread the points around, don't they? Don't, well, often at least get, one of them coming off with an enormous haul and the others getting nothing. They tend to sort of share it around. And I feel like one will become a standout before too long. It's hard to know which. I want to start with one of them, either Saka or Martinelli, or less likely Odegaard, but I just can't. First of all, structure-wise, I can't fit him in. I want Bruno, that's absolutely certain. And that leaves one more space for an 8.5, and I can't fit a second one in anyway. I could have Gabriel Jesus instead of one of the Chelsea forwards, but he's don't know, plays in a very advanced position for one of the best teams in the league, but he just doesn't quite click with me as an FPL pick at the moment. He links up the play more than he does sort of provide the attacking returns. I find, I don't know, RJ is an Arsenal fan. You may have a better perspective on that than me, but I just feel like not quite for Jesus, for me at the moment anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think it's a good point. It's Jesus loves to switch on the wing with Martinelli or whoever's on the left, but he's not he hasn't been very clinical. Even when I know he had a major injury, which everyone seems to forget as well. But when it comes to scoring goals, he misses a lot. He's like another Darwin Núñez. He misses a lot of opportunities. He can get past 5 or 6 guys, but he won't put it in the back of the net. He'll just duff the shot or something like that. So
you'll get the
I fully get it.
For goal, won't he? He'll get the pre-assist or the assist for the assist, whatever you want to call it.
Precisely.
No, I may well pivot to a third Arsenal player, but at the same time, I don't think so. I'm not even sure about having Gabriel there, to be honest. Arsenal were quite leaky at home, weren't they? And he comes up with, just like most centre-backs, he comes up with 1 or 2 or 3 attacking returns across the season. But
that's only when we lost Saliba, bruv. Relax.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I hadn't considered that, actually.
You pretty strongly discuss about definitely having Bruno Fernandes. Is it kind of him or Rashford, and you decided with Bruno? And if that was the reason, why? Is it penalties or is it a lot more than that?
Yeah, the penalties help. I mean, we're not certain. We can't be certain that Bruno will have them because I think he and Rashford shared them out at times last season, I think. His price is an absolute abomination. Why is he so cheap? The mind boggles. I mean, United will be, hopefully one of the strongest, from my perspective anyway, hopefully one of the strongest teams in the league next season. I think you'd agree objectively that is not unlikely to be the case, let's say. And he is one of their most creative players in terms of that sort of central midfield engine, providing the creativity. He's the clear main source of that. Why is he should be it wouldn't look odd if his price was say 10 million this season, would it? And even then that would feel a little bit, maybe there's a bargain there. He's not at the same level as Salah or Haaland, don't get me wrong. But he has the potential to just go absolutely spare against anyone at any time. He's so consistent. He plays every single minute. Since he joined in 2020, he's missed 1 game through injury.
Unbelievable.
That's freakish. So he's basically as close to nailed as you can possibly get, unless he gets like a serious injury, which hopefully he wouldn't. You can basically be certain that he'll play, which you can't say. There probably aren't many players you can say that about in the top 4 teams, at least, or the greedy 6 top teams, whatever you want to call them. But it's an absolute no-brainer for me. I can't see myself without him. At least we've got great fixtures to start with too.
He got just 17 returns, and he still scored over 170 points. And I think he'll do better this season. I agree. I think he's going to be knocking up that 200-point mark again. Honestly,
yeah, I think, absolutely.
Especially with a new dedicated striker signed for you lot, it makes him even a better option now than he was just a week ago.
He did that. 17 goals? What's that? What's the spread between goals and assists? Right? Do you know off the top of your head? Whatever it is, he did what he did without a dedicated centre forward. Well, we had Martial and whatever Weghorst was, but oh come on, he scored. I
still don't understand that signing, man. I just still don't get it.
I think it's what you call an emergency signing, isn't it? But he did everything he did last year without, as you say, a dedicated centre forward. Now he's got that. So he will do even more. And the team has only been strengthened. It's not one of those transfer windows that we've had sometimes where you look at the teams around us and we're, really, really being outclassed on the transfers front. You look at other teams signing this and that and the other, and then you go, we've got a new reserve keeper's tea lady or something, and you have to try and be happy about that. No, I think we're leading the pack really in terms of summer signings so far. New keeper, new number 8, new striker now. I think that's pretty strong. So we've only strengthened, and again,
and that frees up Bruno Fernandes even more.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's I don't know what they were thinking when they priced him so low. It really just doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to take advantage of it from the get-go.
I'll take it. Yeah, 100%. The one thing that stood out for Ray, it's a good transition to the next one, is you were one of the few drafts that picked Mo Salah. And to be honest, I don't, like we were talking about it last week, I don't understand why no one has him in his team. But if you see him in the team, everyone understands. Like, you know why he's in the team. Look at the points he gets. Look at the goals he gets. Salah. But did you ever doubt putting Salah in, or was you always putting him in?
When I did my first 2 or 3 iterations of this draft, I had a no Salah draft for a while, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to feel sick when it gets to game week 1 and I've not got him. Even though he's got a relatively tough fixture to start with. I can't remember off the top of my head what his fixtures after that are, but to be honest, I don't really care. He does well against basically any team. Or he can do well against basically any team, anytime, anywhere. He's one of those. We always have this hokey cokey at the beginning of the season, don't we, with Salah? Some people go, this is the year I'm really going to go without him.
Every year.
And then he does one thing, or he has one good game, and everyone panics to buy him in, and they'll tear their teams up. They'll use their wild card. Yeah, exactly. They'll use their wild card. They will completely take an angle grinder to their team just to try and squeeze him in somewhere. Now, I'm not saying he's absolutely certain to do well. We know he can be a little bit on the streaky side. Sometimes he will just go AWOL for 8 or 10 game weeks at a time, which is fine. Most players do that. But I'd rather be in a position where, okay, I've got him. I need to get rid of him, and have all this money to play with after downgrading him. Taking him down to a Saka or someone at that sort of price level. Go, wow, I've got 4 million to play with. What should I do with it? Rather than go, oh my god, I need to squeeze him in.
How do I get 4 million?
Absolutely me every week. Where am I going to get 4 million from? Because I've spread it so evenly across my midfield. I've got 2 8.5s, a couple of 6.5s in the midfield. Oh god, I'm going to have to do a -8, and already you're massively behind. Yeah, he could flop. He could have a bad first 4 or 5 weeks, but I'd rather not be in a position where I've got to try and crowbar him in after the fact. I'd rather just be in that position from the get-go, to be honest.
Chelsea away, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away.
That Bournemouth at home one is
games.
Pretty, absolutely.
I mean, that Bournemouth at home was going to shed a few tears.
Well, that was the team they beat. Was it Bournemouth 9-0 last season?
9-0.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
That was crazy.
Was a freak. Yeah. Do you know what? I did the Match of the Day challenge that week. The one and only time I did it last season. But the thing is, that was the one result that a mate spoiled for me. I told his anyone I knew I'd be speaking with that day, don't tell me the results, mate. I'm going to be doing the Match of the Day challenge with another mate. But he let slip. He was like, did you see the Bournemouth score? It was 9-0. And then,
you have a chance.
Cheers, mate. Don't tell me who scored. And when you hear that, I'm thinking, right, I've got the Salah captain. Here we go. I've got Trent. I've got Salah. I think I might have had one more. Let's go.
A Robbo.
And then I watched Match of the Day. 2-0, no return. Okay, this is weird. It's coming at some point. No, 3-0, no, nothing. And all the way to 9-0 and he's done nothing. What is this game? Anyway.
Really? Yeah.
The law of large numbers means that if that happens again this season, if Liverpool absolutely pump Bournemouth at some, in that game, which you'd assume they will, Salah could score all 5 or 6 or 7, or however many they get. And I'd really, really rather not be on the end of that. On the wrong end of that, rather. So, just going to have
that's
going to
set that first group ahead as well in FPL. That first bunch of people that jump forward is going to be the Salah owners.
The Salah or no Salah, in that scenario,
I think having no Salah is just a trap. I mean, he's only one player, but he's one of the most important players in FPL. He's what he does or doesn't do is one of those. Well, he's one of those players where what he does or doesn't do dictates the rest of the week. A bit like Haaland. 1 or 2 others, Kane, a few others, Trent as well. I'd rather not be on the wrong side of that. Trent is one player I can't fit into this draft, and I wish I could, but I just can't make it work. So I'm not going to. That's a little easier to kind of squeeze in, isn't it? You can probably just about find an extra 2.5 to upgrade a 5.5 like Chilwell up to him or something that's a bit easier, or at least a little bit less horribly difficult.
Yeah, agree. It's a lot on combinations as well, isn't it? It's not just Salah versus asset B. It's in this example, with your example, I look at it's like Salah and Chilwell versus Rashford and Trent, for example, and obviously there's some more money in there as well. And then you look at which combination do I think will haul? But you're not really looking at it through the whole season, isn't it? You're separating it into sprints of okay, 1 to 4, 1 to 6, what could happen here? And obviously, if it doesn't go well, you can hop off. And the funny thing is, when I was talking to the guys beforehand about, setting up the schedule here and, you gave over your draft, one of the segments was going to be what a Salah draft can look like and how well you can spread your funds. And, his ownership has gone up about 5% in the last 6 days. And, Law, you were mentioning that you only see it going higher as well as we go. I mean, he got 2 assists today as well. He created quite a lot. He still got 25, 26 returns last season. Still an outstanding season. That I think FOMO is starting to sit in, but I think it's more than just FOMO. The guy is unbelievable, isn't he? I still think he's going to haul, isn't he? He's going to return well. And I just feel at this current time, possibly like yourself, I think it's worth it because look, if it's a screw up, you're right. Sell him, go to Sun. Brilliant. I got 3.5 million.
It's a straightforward problem to fix, isn't it? Yeah, there's tons of players you can downgrade, chip a couple of million off him and, use that elsewhere and just lick your wounds and move on. Whereas if it's the other way around, that's a big problem that I really don't want to have.
Tall ass scale.
What you mentioned about what you mentioned about Bruno as well, in terms of just he's going to play, especially in that Liverpool attack where there's so much uncertainty. Salah's going to start those games. You just know it.
Yeah, with him, it comes with a little asterisk. There's always a little bit of doubt. There's always some world-class intellect on Twitter trying to spread nonsense that, Salah's not starting this week. You should probably bench him.
That's exactly what they sound like as well.
Yeah. That's what I hear. That's the voice I hear. That's
absolutely.
So but he does every now and then 1 or 2 games a season. He will get rested, whereas that never seems to happen with Bruno. So there's a little tiny aspect. You're like 98% certain that Salah will start. But again, you're right. You can be pretty certain that he will start, barring injury or some other weird circumstance.
Guys, is it me or the template keeps changing and the season hasn't started? Like someone throws out a player on Twitter and all of a sudden every draft, and this is not Salah I'm talking about, but everyone keeps talking about this certain player all of a sudden. Like Stones wasn't in everyone's draft. Now all of a sudden Stones is in every draft. And then they'll bring another player and this person's
Jackson.
Why do you keep... Yeah, exactly. Where is everyone getting this template from?
Musa Diaby is the next one. That's going to be tomorrow, maybe Tuesday's meta pick.
That is another Bailey trap. That is another Bailey trap.
Darwin.
He scored as well.
Darwin's getting there now.
It's crazy. It's annoying me.
Yeah, preseason can be so misleading, can't it? I mean, you can tell some things from it. It's more useful for getting an idea of how a team is going to set up or what kind of philosophies, strategies and systems and all the rest of it they want to use. But in terms of whether a player's in form or not, it's
I don't think it can
really
be
hard
used for
to
that.
tell anything that's particularly useful.
I don't think it can be.
Do you remember the Community Shield last year? Haaland had a pretty meh game. No one really, or most people didn't really know what.
Well, worse than pretty meh, isn't it? It was he missed a.
He had a couple of chances. There was that one that was like 6 yards out or something, wasn't it? And he sent it to Rose. I remember that. And everyone. I was sitting with a mate of mine who is horrible at FPL. At the pub watching it, and I won't name him. Simon. Sorry, and he was going, "Oh no, Haaland's going to be horrible." And I remember he sent a message into our group chat along the lines of, "We were all sharing our drafts," and he went, "Haaland, you got to be joking." And I just didn't say anything at the time. I just thought, he's a fool. It'll come back to bite him. It's all right. And then Haaland went off in like the first week. 2 goals against West Ham in the first week, and I just sort of, I enjoyed that. And I think he went. What was it? Sunk cost fallacy. He just went all in on the no Haaland strategy for like 8 weeks, and it absolutely ruined him. So when I wasn't just being mean when I said he's bad at FPL, bless him. Love him really. But no, you can't tell much by form or much about someone's form based on pre-season.
Even like Arsenal, we can't even say like we're showing how we're going to play. Arteta is trying other ways we can play, like his backups in all the games. It's like we have no idea how we're going to set up. Is Tim going to be playing on the right? Is he going to be playing on the left? He's going to be playing as a centre back. Is Ben White going to play? Like, there's nothing to say. Oh yeah, this is the team that we're going to go with. Is Havertz going to start? Is Havertz going to be on the bench? So I don't know. Preseason, you can't. You just know if anyone's injured or not.
My favourite one is that everyone's decided that Havertz is a terrible footballer because he messed up on that keep you up challenge or whatever it was.
The
The
volley
way they
thing.
launched the balls into
Yeah.
the volley challenge or whatever it was. I mean, we knew he was a horrible footballer anyway before that. So we didn't need this thing to decide that he. No, that's not true. That's not true. He's actually a good signing. I think he would do really quite well at Arsenal. I might be eating his words later in the season, but I am quietly kind of jealous of that signing. Actually, I think he will do really well. He fits the profile of player you want big time.
Interesting.
It's that challenge as well. Yeah, I actually watched the whole thing. Like the angles and the videos that are out on Twitter. Yes, it looks awful. It looks terrible. But when he was doing it at the time, yeah, this guy was having fun. Like he was swinging with his left foot, swinging with his right, but like he was actually just messing around. And then he's looking at the other players and laughing. Like he wasn't taking it seriously.
Yeah.
When you see the videos on Twitter, oh my god, it looks so bad.
I don't know what it is about him. He just gets slated anytime. Maybe it's just something about his body language or his attitude or something. But anytime he does something wrong, he just gets piled in on. I don't get it. I think he's actually really good. I'm only teasing. I think he's actually pretty good. Like I say, I'm quite jealous that you've got him. He scored the winner in the Champions League final against City. I think.
Yeah,
people
he
were
had a
saying
great
that
game
then,
as well. That was a great game as well. It's not even just the goal he scored. He actually played really well that game. So yeah, I'm glad
he didn't have a good season at Chelsea last year, but nor did anyone really.
No, he didn't.
At Chelsea.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. That is, would you rather have taken him or Mount for United?
Probably Mount actually. That's not to say that anything against Havertz. I like them both a lot. I just instinctively Mount just fits more what we want. I think I can't quite put my finger on why. It's just definitely Mount. The fact that we have actually signed him is nothing to do with it. But
no. It's funny that because I would have preferred us to sign Mount instead of Havertz personally. I think he would have fit more of the template of what Xhaka was doing, and maybe just a higher level. So getting Havertz was an interesting one as well, because I spoke to RJ before as well a few weeks ago, and I have no expectations on this. It will work brilliant. If it doesn't, I'm like, well, I didn't expect too much from him anyway. But it's quite interesting what
he said about FPL consideration. Do you think?
Personally, not yet, because I think my first three will be Partey, Odegaard, and Rice to start the season. I think getting Havertz in there too early maybe sacrifices Odegaard as an FPL asset personally. So
and he's 7.5 as well.
Yeah, but exactly for 0.5 more, you get Martinelli.
Yeah,
I know it's a little bit off topic, but is Martinelli not a bit of a minutes risk with Trossard looking so strong?
Yeah, definitely.
But again, I treat it in sprints. I think in the first 1 to 5 games, I think Martinelli will start every game. And I think in 70 minutes, stroke 75 minutes of Martinelli, I think there's more Hall potential than Jesus if he plays the whole game.
And Saka, in my opinion.
Aforementioned points. Say that again, buddy? Sorry.
Yeah.
And Saka, in my opinion. I mean, there's more Hall potential in Martinelli. The way you guys play, especially when Jesus is starting, there's more.
Because he's a natural striker, isn't it? Martinelli started as a striker.
Then there is Saka.
He started as a striker, so yeah.
But is he going to stay on
minutes
past that 70th minute?
Yeah, that's the thing. Then you got minutes risk on top of that. Yeah.
Like Nat said, Trossard, he looks so good. Like he's actually tried. I think when he first arrived, he was happy to play a part of the bench, but I think now he's trying to fight into that first team. And
do you not think the way he's played? Sorry, RJ, go on.
Go on. No, go on. Just the way he's played, you can't really look it.
He's 0.5 cheaper than Odegaard and Saka, isn't he? Is that not a reflection of the fact that he's a minutes risk, do you think? Is that why they've priced him that tick lower?
Oh, Martinelli? Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, because you've got a few players that can play on the left now. You've got Jesus switching with him on the left. Trossard is the problem. I don't see us playing as Martinelli as much as we did before. And same with Saka. I feel like we can't burn them out because that started to show towards the end of the season. We burned them out. So,
but you're looking at the whole season. Surely you've got to look at like the first games, isn't it? Yeah. And
if
then
he's quite
because our fixtures get more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't ruled out going from Saka to him. I have been toying with that a little bit. I've just left it on Saka at the moment just because of penalties mainly and the sort of closer to guaranteed minutes. But we'll see. I'll have to think about that one.
Yeah. I'm the same at the moment. I've kept to Saka because it's just the obvious choice is that he's going to definitely play.
He's just such an intensely likable guy as well, isn't he? It's hard to just not go, oh, go on then. I'll have it. Go on then.
Yeah, for me as well, the ownership on Saka is so high that taking the risk for
That's a
Martinelli,
good point.
who you know is a minute's risk, I just can't make that switch because of that reason.
That's an interesting point. My EO Shield strategy, especially early in the season, in mind, probably will end up sticking with him, I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
54.3% ownership on Saka.
Yeah, it's so high.
It's insane. Is he the second most owned player after Haaland?
I think so. I don't think I've seen a draft without him.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have. Seriously, I don't.
I don't think I will.
That's mad. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So,
guys, are we going with Salah? Law, Ray, go with Salah?
At the moment, he's in. Yeah.
Because all our drafts, we didn't have Salah.
No. Next week, we're all going to pop up with our Salah drafts. You know it.
Shocking.
Yeah, definitely.
That's brilliant. So let's go to new signing, Rasmus Højlund. So
jealous.
First of all, could we all have a go at pronouncing his name? So Nat, as our esteemed guest, could you go first?
It's obviously Hoojland. You're getting it wrong. No, I have a friend who lives in Denmark. I know Højlund's Norwegian, isn't he? I'm not about to make an idiot of myself.
Danish.
Is he Danish? Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah,
because I have made an idiot of myself. That's good. Well, I have a friend who lives in Denmark, and he will be correct my pronunciation if you watch this. I'm going to go with Højlund. That's what everyone says, though, isn't it? Or he'll say something very particular, like it's actually Højlund or something.
Yeah, I think it's Højlund as well.
Højlund. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the signing, Nat?
Having watched zero football with him in, I don't really feel like my opinion is worth much, but he comes very highly rated. I know that. His stats are not particularly exciting. I do know that as well. I haven't done much research into him at all. But like I say, he comes highly rated enough for United to want to go in for him. So that's good enough for me in a lot of ways. We've been absolutely begging for a dedicated number 9 for a couple of years now, really, haven't we? We tried Ronaldo, and that obviously was a mixed, an experiment with mixed results. And hopefully this will be the solution to what we've been looking for. But it comes with all the usual caveats of a player who's really successful in another European league, coming to the Premier League. You know, the cliche you always hear rolled out is, it's a more physical league, isn't it? It's not cliche, it's true. Yeah. But all that, what I'm saying comes with all those usual caveats. We'll have to see, but it's very promising, and it's nice that we've just identified a player and bought him without that much fuss. Do you remember who was it we were trying to sign last year? De Jong. Last year, oh my god, that saga just drove me mad. By the end, I didn't even want him. I just wanted to buy a player who wanted to come and play for us. And Højlund was quite clear, if you believe our Lord and Saviour Fabrizio Romano. He was very clear from the get-go, according to him, that he wanted to just come to United, specifically United. PSG were sticking their noses in, and he said, maybe, except no, not really, because I want to go play for United. And the fact that we've identified a player who wants to play for us and we've just bought him with little fuss, probably paid a little bit over the odds, but
who doesn't nowadays?
Yeah,
that's probably
70. To be honest, 72 million. I mean, how old is he? He's 20, 21.
20,
yeah. 72 million for, I don't think that's that bad, actually.
That's so depressing when you think that someone who's 21 is worth like 70 million pounds. I'm 28 in October and I'm worth like 20 quid. It's so depressing.
So, hold on, we're looking at this here. Appearances 32, 9 goals, 2 assists. Do we think he's going to have a problem with his first season in the Premier League, or do you think he's going to hit the ground running? That's to everybody.
I don't know too much about him. I'm in a similar position to Nat, where I've not seen any footage of him playing or anything. I've only heard what other people have said, so I don't know too much about him. From an FPL perspective, I'd definitely be waiting to see what he does before I start selecting him in my team.
Even if he comes in at a silly cheap price, I'd still be reluctant to go with him.
Yeah.
If he comes in at, say, like the price that people seem to be leaning towards is 7.5, unless they make a mistake. I don't think they'll price him that low. It'll probably be more like an 8.5 or something to reflect the team that he's got behind him. Like you say, I just don't like. Do you remember Timo Werner a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Feels a little bit similar to that, doesn't it? Came quite highly rated, reasonable goal scorer. The thing that stands out to me on the stats you've got there, for those on the audio, it says 1,834 minutes across 32 appearances. That means there's quite a few substitute appearances in there, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's roughly, what's a full season of Premier League football? 40 minutes, is that right?
Yes,
3,240 minutes.
That's
That means he's played.
He said he weren't good with numbers. Look at him. Look at him go.
That means he's played just over half the minutes in the league, right? What half would be 1,600? So he's played just over half. That means a lot of substitute appearances. And what would you call a successful season for a number 9 in a top 6 team? 20 goals a season? That'd be all right. And that's a little bit below what you'd want. 9 goals in just over half a season. It's not too bad in terms of the minutes. The appearances number looks a little bit concerning. If it was 32 full appearances, if it was more like 2,800 minutes or something, you go, "Oh, really?" But I'm not.
He didn't start the season with Atalanta. Funny enough, I think he was at another team for about 2 or 3 games.
Oh, there you
and I think in the 32 games he made about 20 starts, and expected goals 9.5, NPXG non-penalty because he didn't take a penalty, and expected assisted goals 2.4. I did a little bit of research for another bit that I was doing, and funny enough, he's all over the pitch, Nat. Like, he takes deep line positions, he runs off the shoulder, he plays wide at times as well. So I think you kind of could see a little what Arsenal do sometimes. You could see rotations in game between Rashford,
or Sancho,
himself,
maybe sometimes
Sancho, stroke Anthony, exactly, and then maybe Bruno running off him as well, and maybe Mount as well. So I look at him from just the limited amount of stuff that I've seen. I think he's going to be more of a forward attacking asset for the team rather than a guy who's going to plug in 30 goals from what I've seen. Similar like you, it's a wait and see. I don't think he'll be 8.5 because you're looking at Jesus price here and less than Nkunku, more than Nkunku.
That's fair. But less than Ollie Watkins. I mean, Ollie Watkins had a really good season for the most part.
Personally, I think 7 or 7.5. I think if he's below 7, then I think everyone will just bring him in.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking 7, 6.5. Because you mentioned Timo Werner. Timo came in really expensive, but he scored like 30, 40 goals the season before in the Bundesliga. So I don't see them putting him up here highly. I think the only thing that's going to put him up in terms of price is just the fact that he's going to United. But I think maybe 7, 6.5. I don't think he's going to get a higher price. I just don't see it. Because like you said, same price as Jesus. I don't know.
I mean, there's 2 questions, isn't there? There's what you think he should be priced at to make the game competitive, and what you think he will be priced at. And we know that FPL towers in their infinite wisdom aren't really that interested in doing the sensible thing. They just want to do the thing that's going to make people most engaged. And I guess with that in mind, they're going to want to make this new shiny toy that United have signed, and we know how popular United are around the globe. They're going to want to make him accessible to most people. So maybe you're right. Maybe he will come in a bit cheaper than he ought to, like Fernandes. Maybe that explains Fernandes' cheap price to a level, I guess.
I can't believe that. 8.5. That's crazy.
Even
Grealish at 7.5. That baffled me too.
But you know what? I didn't even know what his price is. I haven't considered him for a second.
7.5.
No, neither have I. This is crazy. I've not looked at Grealish at
How
all.
good a season he had last season is 7.5 or something. Same as Foden.
Just
Foden didn't play.
As a season, it was good, but FPL wise, no.
What's that?
He was all the rage around like
Grealish.
game week 31 or 32. Like, he was very template, wasn't he? Like EO in the 70s.
Yeah, but that's because it's the first time anyone could predict who Pep was going to start. That's why he was all the rage.
And the double game weeks, isn't it? They had quite a few double game weeks.
So, who thinks he's going to be a top signing in the Prem, a top striker in the Prem?
How would you say he was?
I don't know. Is it? I know he's between 20 and 22.
I think you said.
Young, yeah.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah. Well, he comes highly rated, and he's got a good group of players around him. So I don't know if he's going to hit the ground running or not, or he'll work into it. But he seems to have all the talent to get better.
Yeah, 20. Yeah.
20.
Wow.
What was I doing when I was 20?
What?
God,
how tall is he?
6'3".
6'3".
20 years old, and apparently he can run 100 meters in sub 11 seconds. So
This
I
is
don't
why
think I
everyone's
believe
like
that.
forcing the comparison
So he's
between
number
him and
Haaland.
Haaland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Haaland 6'5", right? Or 6'6"?
No idea.
Okay.
Came from the same conveyor belt, but just in Denmark.
I don't know. That's a bit of a push to compare him, man. Let's see what he can do first.
The comparisons will be immediate, won't they? Because
Yeah.
they're both Scandinavian and they both look kind of similar.
And the name sounds similar.
Yeah, exactly.
Haaland.
It was Hoyland, didn't you hear?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a proper number 9 because for a while we were thinking, oh, well, maybe Rashford will do all right out. Maybe we can just chuck him up top for another season. Which would have, he'd be fine there. He'd do really well. He'd bag 15 to 20 goals a season easy, but it's not really what we want him there for. We want him on the left, don't we? Really, that's where he's best.
It's where he's most
Very
dangerous.
nice.
Yeah,
He prefers it as well. He prefers it.
Yeah.
You see his interview with Neville. He said he prefers it because he's in the game more. Whereas the striker, he says that you're not in the game as much, but then every touch you have has to be on point, or every opportunity you have to take. And he feels that cost him in his game. He prefers to be in the game. So I think it showed as well that he does play better on the left. So this guy could help a lot.
It's a plan B we often revert to when a game's not quite going to plan, or if we just want to try something different, to just chuck Rashford up top and rearrange the team a little bit. That worked quite well a couple of times last season. We got goals against City and Liverpool, I think, with him playing through the middle, having changed their 2/3-ish through the match. So it'd be nice to have that plan B still.
Well, I actually don't like how much you lot are improving. I actually don't like it. Yeah.
Well,
here's
an interesting point as well, is apart from Man City, I feel like that old school kind of number 9 is kind of lost really with like the big teams that are taking all these trophies as well. Do you feel like the forward has kind of changed? I mean, if we look at the top teams, at least in England anyway, is even Harry Kane likes to drop off quite a bit, but I do think he'll go. And I think Richarlison is a completely different player. And of course, you've got Chelsea as well. Guys, we did a bit of analysis on Jackson a couple of weeks ago as well. He's not really a box striker, but still looks like a top player. With Arsenal, of course, it's evident. With Liverpool as well, Darwin Núñez likes to take over the wings to allow people like Diaz and Jota to cut in. Do you feel, Nat, and then Roundtable, I'm really interested in all of your feedback. Do you feel like it's not just about being a striker now, but it's about being a dynamic offensive player now? Do you think it's
being a poacher alone or a good finisher alone isn't going to do it for you in a big team most of the time. I mean, it works for Haaland. That's what I mean by most of the time. Yeah. But you need to bring a bit more like what Jesus does for Arsenal, or what I was going to say what United did last season, but we had Weghorst up front for most of it. So I guess
what Weghorst did last season, please continue.
He scored like one whole rebound last season. Come on, guys, be fair. You have to be a lot more. What's the word? Well-rounded, I guess. I say that as when I play football, or attempt to at least, I play in goal, so I know absolutely nothing about being a forward. But it does seem to have changed. The game has evolved a little bit. You don't see 2 centre forwards very much these days, do you? Unless you're in League 2 or Sunday League or something. It's always a system that often at least, unless you're Sean Dyche. That's the other caveat. You tend not to see a 2 centre forward system anymore, do you? So maybe, as you say, it's probably changing.
I think it's changing all over the pitch. Though. I don't think you can just single out strikers. I mean, you look at wingers that now playing as forwards, that as we mentioned with Rashford. Then you look at the way fullbacks are inverting and playing. Then your 8s are now playing a lot more advanced. They're basically 10s now. Like they're all over the pitch. Being able to occupy more than one position is becoming like the main thing, rather than just someone who's having a dedicated like one person who plays one role. It's so rare now.
Goalkeepers needing to be able to as outfield players is another example.
It's like it goes back to our conversations about Haaland earlier. Him and maybe Wilson are the only strikers in the league that are just strikers, and everyone else. I think it worked so well for City because they're so good all over the pitch. They can allow Haaland to do whatever he wants, and once they adjusted to that, it's fine. But no one else can do. Like if we take away what Jesus brings off the ball, or his link-up play, Arsenal suffer a lot.
You saw that when you had
I don't-
Aubameyang, who is mainly a striker, right? When you tried to play him on the wing, it never worked, and then through the middle, because he wasn't able to do that drop deep that Jesus does. You didn't have the same type of performances. You see that,
yeah. And it also didn't work for him at Chelsea. So you really have to have a full-rounded team to have an all-in-all-out striker, and no one has that anymore except City.
Aubameyang was a banter signing and a half, wasn't it? Last year. What on earth happened there?
What was that?
Good.
That was literally just vibes. They bought him just for the sake of buying him.
How much did they even play?
I have no idea. You know.
Anyway,
I have no idea.
I know when he went Barca, we just like deaded his contract off. Then he was like back at Chelsea. Like what? Yeah. Anyway.
Not going to have many Chelsea fans after this podcast, are you? Sorry, we seem to be digging on them quite a lot.
Listen, after their season, they deserve it. Okay, that season was I don't know what that was. They lost to everybody. 11th. Anyway, yeah, let's not kill them off too much. Anyway, but yeah, man.
Well, they like 12 points of relegation in the end or something, which is really cool. Or like something silly like that. Man, or maybe
they were closer to relegation than European place or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm thinking of. So funny.
Yeah, man. So now, are you set with your team?
I don't think I'm going to make any massive changes to the structure, if you like. Like Salah will definitely stay. I can't imagine I'll make much by way of changes to having the 8.5 midfielder, an 8 million-ish, maybe a bit cheaper, striker, and just whatever else fits around that. Like the 2 premium setup is what I mean, basically. I'm not going to deviate too much from that. Other than that, there's quite a bit still to be decided. Chilwell, which Chelsea forward to go for, Saka or Martinelli, Højlund maybe instead of one of the Chelsea forwards. Like, there's a few question marks around there. I mean, we're still 10 days or so out from the beginning of the season, aren't we? So we've got a bit of time to think about it. But I'm 70 or 80% set, I think.
All right. So before we end up on the pod, before we finish up as well, where you landing this season? Overall rank.
Where am I finishing? 1 probably.
The camera froze at just the right time as well.
Yeah, we're waiting for it.
I will be happy with anything in the top 10k again, because another cliche is that the game's getting really hard. This is a true cliche, because there's so many more engaged people. There's so much good content out there, so much. And I don't know if you noticed last season, this is a bugbear of mine. I'm going to choose now to get it off my chest. The FPL app and like the official FPL support was just spoon feeding people like every single day. You get a notification if you have notifications on, like, check out this for the most important decision you'll ever make in the next 10 minutes. And just like it wouldn't. Obviously, I understand they're trying to engage people, and I completely get it. I understand why they're doing it. It just bugs the hell out of me that they make it so easy for people. And with that in mind, with the fact that there's so much good content out there and bad content in the case of that FPL stuff, the official FPL stuff, but or like easy spoon-feed content, like I say, games are becoming so much harder, loads more engaged people. Like I've got mates who, again, shall remain nameless, who now are making really good FPL decisions when they've always made really bad FPL decisions in the past, because they're definitely copying a content creator. I will actually make that nameless this time. Although if the shoe fits, mate, you wear it. But so I was really surprised to get a strong finish last season. To answer your question, where will I finish? Probably not as good as last season. But I'll be happy with top 10k.
Top 10k.
Basically, that's my target.
Ray, what's your target?
100k every season.
Hello?
Did you say 100k?
So,
It's hard. It's hard, man. Like I say, it's the first season I've ever managed to do it. And I absolutely rode my luck to get there. Go on like there, Bill.
No, you carry on. I was just going to say.
RJ, your other half pushed me right to the end. By the way, it wasn't like a clear victory of like 1,000 points. It was, I think, I won by like 8 points or something in the end, and I was sweating on it right up until the last day. That was the only mini league that I wasn't sure of the result by the end. Like, I was actually sitting there with my abacus working out, okay, well, I did a -4. I think she did a -8. And I'm still waiting for the bonus points for this one. And like I was waiting on Kane to confirm. Like I was actually working it out right up until the end.
You were battling.
So she pushed me very hard.
Ray thought he could get involved in that for a little bit, and then
in that game week 31.
Look, overall rank.
Top 100k, just because I finished like 107k and didn't manage to break in there, so that's always a bugbear of mine.
Yeah, I'm going for top 50.
Top 50.
Just 5-0.
Literally top 50.
Top 50. Top 50.
Very bold.
Top 50. Very bold. I'm
back
going to
it,
do
you can
things
do it.
very different this season. I'm going to have to do the. Yeah. Top 50.
Honestly, mate, just be boring. Just be vanilla.
Yeah.
He can't do it.
I can't do it.
Look, we'll start.
There's all the good intentions.
We'll start a little support group, like have an intervention, like they did in How I Met Your Mother. Whenever RJ's talking about, I'm going to buy Lukaku for my team. See if that makes a difference.
Come and sit down and hold this pillow, man.
Yeah, just come on.
You can't do
This is
it.
a safe place, mate.
I'm going to do it this season. Seriously, I'm going to be boring in this game. I'm going to make sure because it's cost me too much, man. And this guy is so gassed. It jars me. He just comes up with nonsense, and he knows my Maverick picks save him. Yeah. Anyway,
but just pick your battles. Just do the Maverick picks, but just like roughly 1/10 as often as you normally do, or something like that. Or still do spicy things, but just not too often. Already thinking about it.
I already feel itchy. Nah, definitely. I'm aiming high this season. This season I have to.
Okay, if you had to pick a Maverick pick first thing, who would you pick? Like right now, gun to your head. Like who's the Maverick?
I've already got my Maverick pick. My Maverick pick's Morrison. Or Morris, sorry, not Morrison. Morris.
He's so Maverick. I've actually never heard of a footballer called Morris anything. To be honest,
serious.
That's
Louis striker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But first season, banged 20 goals, played every minute, and he's 5.5, and he's actually another number 9. So I was talking about him last week. If I was going to go anywhere against the template like that, I think he's the only one I'd mix on at the moment. Because instead of going for a 4.5, I'll go for a 5.5. And that's not in like every game. It'll be in the Bournemouth games or whatever. But I just think he's going to have a decent season for Luton. Not for the league. Oh, yeah. He played 43 games, I think it was. And he came off the bench for the rest of them. And first season, 20 goals. So
you won't play 42 games this season in the league, but
definitely not. But yeah,
interesting.
I think that's the first one that came to mind. Yeah,
that's actually quite interesting, to be fair. It's low risk, isn't it? If you divert enough money to make that work, you haven't really lost that much from the rest of your team. It's not like you've got to go out on a limb to try and fit in a player who's like 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you have to compromise your team big time to make that happen. You only need to save 2 chunks of 0.5 to make that happen.
And what we were saying is a lot of people are writing off that third striker anyway. So,
yeah.
We'll
see. I like that.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we're saying we liked to buy him last season. It was 8 goals with his right foot, 6 goals with his left foot, 6 headers.
Yep.
So decent.
Yeah. But we'll see. You good there, fellas? You frozen?
What was that, sorry?
Right, so we're trying to wrap this up now. Yeah, what's going on here?
This is the part where someone talks.
Yeah. So, it's been great having you on the pods.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
We're gonna keep in touch anyway during the season.
Definitely.
Fellas, handles, please.
Yep, mine
handles.
Is @only1_law.
Mine is @Ray_Pure.
Mine's @_anyone RJ, and that
is @FPL Potato.
Where did that come from? Please, I have to know.
You know, I remember like it was yesterday. I was away on holiday, and I had been like sort of prowling through what I sort of knew as FPL Twitter with like a different account, like an account I use for work actually. And I was sitting there going, I kind of want to get involved in some of these tedious discussions, really. So I made an account, and I thought, right, I'm going to make an account. So I made one, and I thought, it go through the process of making one, thinking, oh God, there's so many like accounts out there that take themselves way too seriously, like FPL.
Ray, you're such a nerd. Ray, you're such a nerd. Why?
Did you see the smirk on his face when it came up?
Yeah, he's so proud of it. Why have you done that? Why are you embarrassing us?
Because we're going to have segments on YouTube, and this will specifically be why FPL potato.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I thought, I don't think I've seen an FPL potato, and I'm really, really bad at this, and I'm really annoyed about it. So potato, pessimistic potato, alliteration's good. So I just went with that, and I literally Googled sad potato, and I just grabbed the first picture that came up, broke every copyright law in the book, whacked it on there. Thought, if I get an email if I get a letter in the post saying please cease and desist, I will cease and desist. But until that time, I'm going to use this picture that I nicked off Google to represent a sad potato, and it's just kind of stuck. And that's more of that story.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Like when we met, I think your team, your handle was definitely the first. I was like, what? Huh? Really?
You're like, there's quite a lot of.
All right.
Quite a lot of sort of like FPL. What's a cool animal like FPL Lion or FPL? No disrespect to anyone who is FPL Lion. I'm just trying to think of like the most obvious one I can off the top of my head.
FPL SpongeBob
Pro.
There's always some matter.
Yeah. And I just wanted to kind of be stupid, really. So I did.
Yeah, man. Bit fun with it. Well done. But yeah, man. Fellas, I'm gonna catch you next week. Nat, I'm gonna see you around soon.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Back to normal drafts next week. Game is going to be opening soon. Was it 10 days you said? I just want football to start.
I've missed it. I've missed it so much. It feels like it's been a long time this season, doesn't it?
It does.
Like the gap.
It's been
the fact there's still 10 more days to go just seems like I can't believe it's just it's long.
Community Shield on Saturday next week, I presume, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
what do you fancy for that?
Sunday.
Who is it? Is it City and Arsenal? It'll be, I guess, won't it? So, who do you fancy for?
Go down to Wembley.
Nice.
I just don't want to get embarrassed. That's all. I just want us to play properly because the last 2 games we played with City, one we got absolutely dominated by tactics. The second one we just made mistakes and they punished us. So, the first one we made mistakes, they punished us. The second one they just absolutely dominated us in tactics. So. Yeah.
In terms of scoreline, though, you didn't get properly humbled at any point. There was no sort of 6-1 or 6-3. I think it wasn't it? Actually, when they played us, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I know, but still, the manner in which they beat us in the second game was pretty bad. Yeah, but let's see how it goes. I'm watching live.
Maybe this will be the season where they finally do badly. City, I mean, maybe.
I hope you're right.
We can hope.
Yeah.
I'm not holding out any hope, by the way. I'm prepared for another thoroughly depressing season of City Pep Guardiola-based dominance, but we will see.
We will see.
Yeah, let's see. But Ray, you're going to dash out some community questions for next week, right? I'm going to get back on that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
lovely. Cool. All right, man. Well, let's wrap this up, fellas. You know how it goes. We've been your hosts. My name is RJ.
I'm Law.
And I'm Ray.
Thanks everyone for listening. And we will catch you on the next one.
Peace.